All right, hello everyone. My name is Jake Booker, and I'm doing my presentation on the Count of Monte Cristo. So this movie was made in 2002, and it's one of my all-time favorites. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the trailer of the movie, so you guys can kind of see the background, a little bit of the plot, and kind of have a good feel for what it's about. And then I'll dive deeper into it after.
Good, you finally hit something. Being your friend is always an adventure. Yes, it is, isn't it?
Edmond Dantes had a promising future and a love
I missed you so.
that any man would envy.
As soon as I can afford the ring, we'll
I
wed.
don't need a ring. I don't.
You are under arrest by order of the magistrate of Marseille.
I demand an explanation. It was you? Why are you doing this? It's complicated.
I didn't quite understand why you were betraying him, but now, having seen his exquisite fiancée, I understand completely.
I am innocent. We inform Mercedes that Edmond Dantes has been executed.
My advice, take solace in the comfort of your good friend.
You were a soldier. Teach me the knife, the sword.
Good. Too good.
He spoke of escape.
In return for your help, I offer something priceless. The treasure of Monte Cristo. Follow the clues.
You are wealthier than any man I have ever heard of. What do you want to buy?
Revenge. I will change my identity. I shall become a count.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Count of Monte Cristo.
Count on revenge.
Death is too good for them. They must suffer as I suffered.
I'm a count, not a saint.
The Count of Monte Cristo.
All right, so now I'm going to do a little plot overview. And as you can see, the trailer is kind of cheesy, but it's just kind of older film. But anyways, so the main character, Edmond Dantes, he starts off as a successful merchant sailor for some company. It doesn't really matter. But what matters is that he was rising. He was doing well. He's about to be the captain of a new ship. And everyone loved him. He was just doing extremely well. Had a fiance. And then the betrayal happened, and that's kind of the point in between being successful and being the prisoner. So his best friend betrays him and basically sends him to prison. He sets him up for a crime that he didn't commit, and that's what kind of sets him up for life in prison. To one of the prisons where they're like, "Oh, you're screwed forever. You're done." But what happens next is in prison he meets this priest. And this priest is a really, really smart guy. He's really well-rounded. He's kind of like a Renaissance man. And he begins to, and they meet up when they're trying to escape. And they're digging a tunnel underneath the prison to get out beneath the walls. And it's going to take a ridiculous amount of time. But regardless, they're working together. And Edmond Dantes is learning from him. He's learning economics. He's learning science. He's learning how to read, all these good things, and learning how to fight and use a sword and whatnot. So he's beginning his education. The next thing that happens is eventually he escapes, but the priest doesn't make it, unfortunately. But regardless, he escapes. And he's found by a group of smugglers, and these smugglers basically pick him up and have him tag along for a couple of years, where he is kind of doing a criminal life and engaging in things he shouldn't be, and he knows morally he shouldn't be. But he's on his quest for the Count of Monte Cristo, which is his name. He's looking for the Monte Cristo treasure. And so he ends up finding this treasure, and it's some immeasurable amount of money. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. He can do whatever he wants for the rest of his life. And so he becomes a count. And the whole goal of him becoming a count is basically for him to enact revenge against his ex-best friend, the guy who betrayed him in the beginning. He's obsessed with the idea of getting back at him, but not necessarily getting back at him by killing him, but by getting back at him by taking away the things he loves. So next is character development. We have Edmund's transformation, and I'm just going to focus on him because he's kind of he's the antagonist. He's the main person in this story. He begins pretty naive and uneducated, but he's happy. Like regardless, he's happy. And then he's kind of introduced to the realities of the world. Like there's prison, there's betrayal, there's like injustice and injustice and all these awful things. And then he gets an education. He becomes this. He becomes smarter. He becomes well-rounded and more less naive, I guess you could say. And he's not very happy. He's out for revenge at this point. Then he gets rich and he pursues revenge. Like I said earlier, he's just completely engulfed by the idea of it. And then finally, at the end, he realizes there's resolution that comes through forgiveness, not violence. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Next, we have these ethical dilemmas. These themes include betrayal, revenge, forgiveness, power, and powerlessness. First, I want to start with betrayal. There's the dilemma of his best friend who's kind of serving the egoism principle. He's doing what's best for him. Like he wants his friend's girl. He wants his fiance. He wants the fame. He wants the success. So he betrays him, which is obviously pretty awful. And then there's revenge, which is also egoism, the same thing. And the dilemma is like, do you exact revenge on him when you have the opportunity to, or do you show mercy? And obviously, he chooses revenge. But then there's the theme of forgiveness. It's like, is it ethical to forgive even? Can we even accept that? And he does end up making peace, but not in the way you'd think. And then there's the theme of power and powerlessness. So when he's powerless, he doesn't have, like, I wanted to talk about this because he basically has no power and he has no responsibility. And then once he has the power that comes via all the money and being a count, he has all this moral responsibility, whether he can take the revenge, should he take that revenge, should he act justly, should he act unjustly, and what is just based off how he's been treated with injustice. And so now we have the ethical resolution. He ends up killing his friend, but the question is he satisfied? And no, he's not. At the end, he's very dissatisfied. He's feeling empty. He's feeling awful. And before he kills him, he asks for a truce, but his other friend's so caught up in this evil desire to be the best and like regardless of relationships, it ruins that. And so he has to kill him in order to defend his family. And so the conclusion that kind of comes is that forgiveness is freedom, and he kind of talks about that in a little monologue at the end, which is a really interesting concept. So the conclusion and the moral of the story is a quote from Edmond Dantes at the very end is, "You were right, priest, you were right." And what he's talking about here is when the priest comes up to him and he says to not exact revenge, that's not the way to make peace with yourself and with him. And so inner peace it does not come from a revenge, but instead through forgiveness. So to sum it all up real quick, the ethical dilemma was he was hurt, he was betrayed, he was sent to jail, and like unethically, he was sent to jail under fraudulent circumstances. But he came back and he was faced with the decision whether to forgive and move on and mend that relationship, or to keep pursuing more injustice. And what happens is he obviously pursues injustice and he goes on to make a big problem out of it. And ultimately, nothing came out of it other than hurt until he realizes that forgiveness is the answer. Thank you.